And so this is the agenda for today. There's 3 things that we're going to be discussing today. 1, how do you set yourself up for a successful holiday? Number 2, how do you not gain weight over the holiday season? And the third thing is I'm going to invite you to join my 3-week Fitmas challenge. So those are the 3 things that we're going to be talking about. Now, who am I? For those of you that may not know me, I'm Roseanne, and I'm a nutrition, fitness, and a wellness coach. And I've been coaching women for over the past 15. I've been doing this for over the past 15 years. And I started doing this as a result of my own health crisis. I got into the nutrition field really because I got into a health crisis. I went to see a doctor for just a regular doctor's checkup. And lo and behold, not only did he tell me I was overweight, I was obese. And if you go to my Instagram page, Coach Roseanne on Instagram, you will see my picture. It's the one of the first 3 pictures. I have a striped shirt. And in there, I was not only overweight, but I had a diagnosis of high cholesterol. And that's what got me into actually helping women. And that's actually what got me to switch my career from what it is that I was doing to now what it is that I do, which is help women lose weight, lose fat without dieting so that they can create a healthy and a sustainable lifestyle for themselves. I have lived this way for the last 15 years. I have dropped my cholesterol levels. They've been healthy for over the past 15 years. I have kept my weight at a healthy range for over the past 15 years as well. And what I want to show you are the things that I know that I have learned, I have implemented not only in my life, but I've continued to help clients with. So what I'm going to be teaching you are strategies that I use, strategies that my clients use, and strategies that I know if you implement them and you use them and you don't say, oh, this is a free training, so it might not be valuable. I can assure you it's going to be absolutely valuable for you. So I want you to not take it for granted, to know that what I'll share with you is going to be helping you. So now I want you to imagine, now, one thing I also want everyone to know, I've been under the weather the last couple of days. So I am not that girl that usually has a lot of energy, but I'm really trying my best. So if you hear me coughing a little bit, just don't worry. I'm getting better. Okay. So now these are the 3 areas I want you to look at. I want you to imagine your own life. And I want you to imagine your lifestyle. Then I want you to think about your goals, and I want you to think about your body. Those 3 things. It's almost like I want you to think, you know how a Venn diagram, right? There's 3 circles. One circle has your lifestyle, one has goals, one has your body. At the center where that Venn diagram meets is you. It's what's uniquely you. And so what I'm going to be teaching you today has to be uniquely you. Because your lifestyle is different. Your goals are different. Your body is different. No 2 people are the same. No 2 people are the same. We are as unique as our fingerprints. You know how they say zebras also have, their stripes are very unique to all the zebras in the world? How unique our fingerprints are? This is the exact same way. As you're thinking and as you're working towards your lifestyle transformation, it has to be completely, uniquely yours. So the first thing I want you to ask yourself is this question. How do I want to feel this holiday season? Write it down. How do I want to feel? Now, for those of you that may not know, my background is psychology. And one of the things that I do is I like to infuse my psychology background and infuse that with my nutrition and infuse that in the way I coach my clients. And the best way that you're going to be able to know what is going to work for yourself is to ask yourself some critical questions. And this is the first question you want to ask yourself. As you're moving in towards the holiday season, how do you want to feel? You know, I was actually listening to Oprah this morning, and there's one thing that she said. She said, the most successful people that she has ever interviewed, one thing about them is they know exactly what they want, and they do not have any confusion in their mind. And I was like, oh my God, that's exactly what I'm talking to these girls today. You have to be clear what it is that you want. And the reason why how you feel is important, it's because your feelings will direct your actions. So you want to ask yourself, how do I want to feel? That's the first question. Then you want to ask yourself, as I look at my lifestyle, I look at my goals and I look at my body, and I am moving into the holiday season, the next question you're going to ask yourself is, How do I want to feel in December, which is during the holiday? During the holidays. Because actually, it's December and January. I'm going to put December and January, but I know we have folks from around the world who listen to us and watch. And I want you to think about when we talk about the holiday season, what I've learned in Kenya, our holiday season is December and January, as we go for 2 whole months, isn't it? Truth or truth, right? We have like us, our holiday in Kenya is like 2 whole months. We shut down December, like around December 10th, we like shut down and we're not back until the end of January. Ain't that the truth? And for my folks in America, for you, your holidays usually start this week, the week of Thanksgiving. And for some people, maybe even a little bit earlier. So you want to ask yourself, during the time you define as the holidays for yourself, how do you want to feel? Then the next question you want to ask yourself is, okay, I'm clear on how I want to feel in December. Maybe for you, you say you want to feel in control. Because maybe in the past, you were never in control of your meals. You were never in control of drinking. Maybe for you, you're saying in December, I just want to have control of my meals. Because for me, I'm very afraid of the carbohydrates that I'm going to be eating. So maybe for you, you're saying, I just want to feel like I'm in control. Because right now, the way my brain is thinking, I'm thinking like I'm not going to be in control. But I want to show you can be in control and you will be in control. So you first must identify how you want to feel. Maybe for you, you want to be in control with your relationships because maybe there's that auntie, I call her Auntie Susan. Auntie Susan who is always commenting on your weight, who is always commenting about you don't have kids. You know that auntie that just rubs you off the wrong way and then you find yourself overeating? So you want to go in with a plan. How do you want to feel when you see Auntie Susan and Auntie Susan is the one who rubs you off the wrong way? How do you want to feel? So that has to be clear. So I want you to have clarity so that by the time you're going into December, you already know, you have an awareness as to how you want to attack the holidays. So that's during. Then the next thing you want to ask yourself is, how do I want to feel after the holidays? Please write this down. How do I want to feel after the holidays? Now, this for me is very important. I remember many years ago when our kids were little. Now, both our kids, my husband and I, we've been married for 21 years. Our daughters, we have 2 girls, an 18-year-old and a 17-year-old now. But I do remember there was a time when we used to live in Boston and we came to visit in Nairobi. And I remember we went to the White Sands Hotel. Now, when we went there, they had a buffet laid out of food. It was the holiday season. And every single day, this is all I'm going to tell you, because what I'm sharing with you, I have gone through it myself. I used to go to the buffet section and I would just eat endlessly. I would eat without even thinking. I would eat whether the food tasted good or not, because the way I used to look at it was YOLO. I live once, I gotta eat everything. And then what would happen is I'd have all these foods. And I specifically remember crashing and not having energy during the day to play around with the kids. I'd be going to the beach, we're walking around, but I'm still feeling like I have no energy. I also remember this image has never left my head. But you know how sometimes when you go to hotels over the holiday season, and you know how the dessert table, they usually have packed all those things. They've packed all those different desserts. And this is how I went in then. I'm just going to eat anything and everything. And I remember eating every single piece of dessert that was there. No wonder I was overweight. But I also remember thinking, I don't like this thing. Like, I don't like them. They don't taste good. But I'm eating them because they're there. And so I would feel horrible during and after. During and after. During the holiday, I'm feeling horrible. After the holiday, I'm feeling horrible. So I am not teaching you something that I haven't lived. I am teaching you something I have lived, something I have gone through, something I've done. So if you feel called out, I'm calling myself out because I've done these things myself. And the goal is for you to be able to have a proper plan. So how do you want to feel after? Because this is going to determine how you are going to approach the holidays. And this is what I call starting with the end in mind. Now, Stephen Covey has written a book. If you haven't read it, it's a fantastic book. It's a book I recommend everybody to read, 7 Habits of Highly Effective People. And in one of the chapters, he talks about you always want to start with the end in mind. And this is what I'm having you do. You're starting with the end in mind. And as you start with the end in mind, the next thing you want to do is now let's work things backwards. Let's now begin to work backwards. What are the things that we want for ourselves? As you're working things backwards, couple of things that you want to ask yourself. Number 1, what results do you want? What results do you want? Now, for some people, they're like, me, I want to lose weight. I want to lose weight. Now, I'll tell you right now why I think it's not impossible, but I think it's setting yourself up for failure if you say you want to go into the holidays to lose weight. Just because, and I'll give you all the reasons why I think it's a bad idea. There are people who want to do that. And if you want to, you can. But for other people, you might be saying, for me, I actually want to gain weight. Or for some people, it may be like, for me, the result I usually get every December is I usually gain extra weight. So for you, the results that you get over the holiday is you notice that you've gained weight. And for other people, it's you just notice you maintain the weight. So results are results. Because a lot of people always think that, the fact that I've lost weight, that's good result. That's a result and it's a good result. But even gaining weight is a result. Maintaining weight is a result. So you really need to be clear. What result do you want for yourself? What do you want? I think there's a is it a meme I think I've heard on Instagram or somewhere that says, what do you want? What do you want? What do you want? So it's important for you to be clear what it is that you want. If it's fat loss, fine. If it's want to gain weight, that's okay too. There are people by there who want to gain weight. And for those who want to maintain, you're welcome to do that. So every of these results has a very different approach to it. And this is now what I want your brain to begin to see, that the way you approach the holiday has to be approached very differently. I always like to look at different stages. Like if you say different stages in your transformation, where are you? So that you stay there, so that your focus is there. Now, for most people who are here, most of you have most likely said, for me, I kind of want to maintain. I don't want to gain weight. Even when I wrote to most of you, there was a fear that a lot of you said, yeah, I don't want to gain any weight. I don't want to gain the holiday weight. But what I want to do is, can I learn how to maintain my holiday weight? And if it's about maintenance, I can show you how to do that, because it's actually a pretty easy way to maintain your weight. And I'll even show you exactly what are some of those things that you want to do. And so now the question becomes, do you want to ask yourself is, okay, now that we're working from the end, we're working backwards. You now know how you want to feel. You're thinking about the results that you want for yourself. The next question you're going to ask yourself is, okay, so now that I know this, so what's important to me? I'm going to ask you, what's important to you? What's important to you? What are the things that you want for yourself? Because one of the things that even folks have said and written to me was, they do want to lose weight. It's important. They're like, you know what? The holidays are very important to me. It's important to me to spend time with my family. It's important for me to spend time with the people that I love. These are very important to me. It's also important to me, maybe for you, you're saying, it's important for me to enjoy treats. It's important for me to eat my carbohydrates. It's important for me to enjoy my wine. But then you're probably then stuck with what I call 2 competing priorities. 2 priorities that are competing. You want to enjoy treats. You want to enjoy time with your family, right? How many of you are like, yep, that's me. I want to enjoy family. I want to enjoy treats. I don't want to be restricted, right? So you have 2 competing priorities. And for some people, they might feel like, my goodness, am I being told to choose one or the other? Am I being told to choose either family or treats? Am I being told that those are the only options that I have? And the answer to you is no. No, that's not what it is. If anything, it should never be You're competing between the things that you love and the people that you love. That's not how it should be. If anything, the question you should be asking yourself is, okay, how do I incorporate both of them to be a part of my lifestyle? How do I incorporate both of these competing priorities to make them fit my own lifestyle, not the other way around? Or even you could say, okay, what are the other options that are out there that I could use? So it's not a matter of either or, but rather it's a matter of how can they both work for you. And anytime you feel like you have two competing priorities, you always want to ask yourself, what would need to happen if I am forced to pick one? If you're forced to pick one of them, which of those would you pick? Which one would you pick? And whichever one you would pick, that is going to show you what you value the most. That's where your values are. The priority that you pick, you'll be like, okay, I value this more than the other. This, again, what I'm helping you do is I'm helping you begin to understand how to make the decisions that are going to help you as you're crafting this lifestyle for yourself. And the thing that I want you to recognize is anytime you find yourself stuck and you're not sure what's important to me, what are the things I need to work on, anytime that you find yourself stuck, you're stuck because you are not quite sure or you're not prioritizing your values first. You're not prioritizing your values. And so you really want to work on prioritizing your values. What are those values for yourself? What are the things that you value for your unique lifestyle? And then the next thing you want to do is now you must set yourself up for success. You need a plan. If you know me, if anybody of you have been inside my program, Hey Sugar, that's like the biggest program that I have. If you've been in there, one of the things that we talk with my team, you got to plan. Because without a plan, girl, you're planning to fail. And so the question that I have for you is, what happens to you if you go blindly into this holiday season? You have no plan, you have no strategy. You're going to find yourself like Roseanne. Like me in those years when I was at White Sands, I'll never forget, I had no plan, no strategies, and I was literally being swayed left, right, and center. Whatever was served, I ate. Whatever was served to drink, I drank. Whatever desserts were put there, I ate. I hated them. I felt horrible. They tasted horrible. They didn't taste good. I had energy was low. I couldn't play with the kids. I couldn't hang out with my husband. I mean, it was a struggle. It was a struggle. I felt like I was carrying heavy things in my head because I had no plan. And so you must have a plan for a successful holiday season. Don't go at it blindly. There has to be a strategy. And these questions I'm giving you are going to help you come up with a proper plan for yourself. And it's you deciding, by the way, how you want this to be. See how we talked about lack of planning of meals? We also talked about lack of planning with Auntie Susan. Okay, we're going to talk about Auntie Susan because Auntie Susan is that auntie. She's that auntie that is always commenting on our weight. She's that auntie that's always telling us why we don't have child number 2. She's that auntie who's always saying why we are not married. You know that auntie, right? You know the auntie that is always bothering us and she just says the wrong things. Lord bless her. But you know what? You're going to have to come with a proper plan on how to deal with auntie so that she is not upsetting you and she is not triggering you. Because you have the ultimate power as to how you're going to respond back to her. For a lot of my clients, they've used food as a way to medicate the pain, the anger, the resentment that they feel. When someone like Auntie Susan is coming and asking them all the unnecessary and almost, they make those insensitive comments. So you really want to be mindful about that. Decide how you're going to react now. You're deciding now. You're not waiting until late. This is what I'm saying. We're starting with the end in mind. It's almost like you already know how this script is going to play out. You already know how this is going to play out. You already know how this is going to fall. If year after year you've been struggling with your weight, if year after year you've been struggling with emotional eating, if year after year you have been struggling with not saying no, you already know. You have a preview. You know how we watch previews when you go to movies? I'm a girl who loves movies. I watch movies like every Friday. You know how you have watched a preview? So guess what? You already have a preview of how it's going to pan out. You already know the end of that story. You already know because you're the same person that always comes in January and like, coach, let's lose some weight. Let's lose those 5 kilos I just gained. Right? I'm saying this because I was you once. I was you once. I know exactly how this plays out. And so I want you to set yourself up for success. Decide how you react. And I'm telling you this because it's important that you gain your power back. Get that power back, girl. And you start by now. Start with the end in. We're starting with the end in mind. Now, the next question you're going to ask yourself, and this is such a critical question. Remember how at the beginning, we've already talked about how you want to feel in December, how you want to feel in January. Now, the next question is, how will you know that since you have set yourself up for success, how will you know you have become successful? What parameters are you going to put in place to let you know you've become successful? So, how are you going to know that? Very simple. Remember, I've said we already have a script. We already know how you behave. You already know if it's wine, maybe for you, you do not have any control over the amount of wine that you drink. So maybe for you, you drink a lot of wine. Maybe for you, easily you can down 2 bottles in a sitting. So that for you right there is evidence. And maybe for you, you're saying, I want to reduce my amount of wine. Okay, So you already have the evidence, bottle of wine per sitting. So you're writing that down. If someone else, you see carbohydrates, you see chapatis, Roseanne is raising her hands, you see chapatis, and it's like they call you all names and you don't know how to say no, or you find yourself just eating them like there's no tomorrow. That's me, because that's your girl. Girl can eat a lot of chapati. You also want to know how many are you going to be eating. If it's chapatis, and maybe in the past you would eat 5 in a sitting. By the way, that was not unusual for me in the past to have done that. And so how will you know that you are successful? How will you know that you're there? So right now, remember, we are starting with the end in mind. You are planning from the get-go. And so for you, you're going to say, my plan is, how will I know I'm successful? I will know I'm successful if I'm able to sit through 1 bottle of wine instead of 2. For another person, me, it will be, I'll know I'm successful if I'm able to eat 2 chapatis instead of 5. That's how you know. So it's important that you are able to see, are you planning? What are you putting down your measures? Are you tracking your measure? How are you going to know that you're going to be successful? How will you know that you get there? And so you're going to do this. You're going to ask yourself, so right now we are in November 22nd. So right now we're in November 22nd. And then we're going to be looking at December and January. Because, again, we've determined in Kenya our holidays go on through January. And nobody says nothing to us. That's right. Okay. So that's it's almost like 2 good months. It's almost like 2 months or about 8 weeks. So you're going to start in reverse and look at all the holidays that you're going to be having, all the things that you're going to be going to. And then you're going to say, in the past, by the way, anytime we went to my grandma's or anytime we went with my girlfriends, this is my pattern. These are the things that I usually do. I don't like the way I feel after. So you're following all the things that we've talked about. Then now you're crafting, what do you want for yourself? Now you begin to write and craft the new things you want for yourself. And so for me, for instance, someone might say, okay, I know I will have done well if I am not overeating. I am eating enough. I am not stuffed. I am not eating to the point where I feel like I want to throw up. I used to do that, by the way, where I would just stuff myself with a lot of food. So you're saying, how will you know that you have gotten there? And so that's how you will know, because you're eating enough. Someone will be like, you know what? Instead of a whole bottle of wine, I know I have eaten enough, I have drunk enough. I took 2 glasses rather than the whole bottle. And that for you is how you know you have been successful. So I want you to track those things down because it helps you measure your success because it's clear. Because some people will be like, how do I really know? There you go. You're going to know how you did. Now, as you do this, the next thing I want you to do is I want you to recognize, actually, before I hop on to the next one, is I want you to now track at the end of every day. Hey, Catherine, at the end of every day, hey, Catherine Wangi, how you doing, girl? I see you. At the end of every day, you want to always ask yourself to review how you have done. Just go back at the end of the day, say, how did I do, by the way? Okay. It's like a teacher. You know how a teacher reviews a student's report card? You wanted to have a report card for yourself. Just look back and say, how did I do? How did I perform? Yesterday, I'll be hosting on Saturday, I believe. I'm hosting a party, Thanksgiving. I've always hosted Thanksgiving for years. And so one of the things that I do is I am doing exactly what it is that I'm telling you, because this has to be top of mind for me. And so the biggest thing that I'm going to be asking is, I will ask myself, how many chapatis am I going to eat? And I am asking myself at the end, how did I do? How well did I do at the end of it? If we're going to be going out and let's say we're traveling somewhere, the same thing. I'm going to be asking myself, what do I want to eat? And how do I feel when I eat these things? So these are the things that I want you to ask yourself, because they are going to help you become very clear as to what's acceptable for you, what's negotiable, what's a non-negotiable for you, and what are the things you're tolerating for yourself. And all this will come in the constraint of your value system and the things you value the most. So I want you to do that. Now, the next thing that we're going to do is I want you to recognize the following. Now, for a lot of people, when we hear we're going into the holiday season, it's like, I even had to take a sigh. And I'm going to take a sip because when a lot of people hear about the holiday, it's almost like our mind immediately goes to, okay, 8 weeks, free for all, 8 weeks. We can eat whatever we want for 8 weeks because we are going on holiday, people. How many of you have done that? And I'm raising my hand because I used to do that. It used to be the holidays and it's like, I'm not kidding. It's like you turn everything off and it's like, all right, holiday season. And so you would go into this holiday mode where you're not being mindful, you're not being careful. And before you know it, by the end of the holidays, all that weight has come back on. You have been feeling bloated. You have been feeling constipated. You've been feeling like you're throwing up because you're just overeating without a plan. You're eating, it's almost like food is disappearing. And the food is going to be there. That's a mindset. That's a way of thinking. And that mindset is what is holding us back. What I want you to recognize is, it is not an entire, even though we're going on the holiday season, there's only a couple of days really. There's only a couple of days that are sort of like big holidays. A couple of days, sprinklings of days. So I don't want you to go into the holiday season saying, oof, okay, Shara, all right, we're going to just go celebrate and we're just going to eat whatever, because I know in January, that's what happens. Give me 1 second. I'm using my daughter's phone on give me 1 second. On Instagram, and her timer came off. Yeah, she's not supposed to be on the phone now, so I'm glad the timer still works. Okay. I'm using my daughter's phone on Instagram, and her timer came. Okay, time is up for the day. Go to bed. So I had to bring it back on. Okay, so the way you want to think about the holiday is you want to think about it. It's a one day, or there's a couple of sprinkling. It's a holiday. It's one day. It's not the whole 8 weeks. It's not 12 weeks. Because when you carry it saying, oh, I got 12 weeks now, that's a mindset that's going to slow you down, because in your head, you're probably thinking, I have 12 weeks, so I can do whatever it is that I want. And yes, I want to be clear. Holidays are a time to rest, relax, rejuvenate, connect with family. Yes, we want to do all that. What I want us to do is I want us to go in there with a plan. with an awareness that even with every single choice that you make, you're making it from a place of power. When you're saying yes to alcohol, you're making it from a place of power. When you're saying yes to cake, you're making that from a place of power. I want you that as you're going into the holidays, you're not going in blindly like I used to. You're not going at it where you don't necessarily, you're not where the chefs and the people are done deciding what you're going to be eating. No, you have power. That's what I want to encourage you. I want you to know that you do have the power to go into the holidays exactly the way you want. And this is what I'm going to tell you. Every single time you make a choice, whatever choice it is, you're the one that's making that choice. Nobody is putting a gun to our heads and telling us you gotta eat that cake. No, we are always making that choice. When I was eating too many chapatis and too many cake, and while at White Sands, I was having all those cakes that, you know how there are those, there's some, I don't even know what they're called, but there's some cakes that are spongy like. I have never understood those things. And that's the day I was like, what is even this I'm eating? Because it didn't have any flavor to it. But I was just finding myself eating those things and they tasted horrible. I was making that choice myself. Nobody was. And I had to suffer the consequences of overeating, of bloating, of feeling constipated, of having sometimes runny stomach. All those things, I've experienced them as a result of overeating. So I want you to know you can go into the holidays with a plan and you can enjoy those holidays. You can enjoy. It's not about either or. It's about how do we incorporate everything in a way that is making sense to us. So let's do a quick recap of the things that we have talked about. And by the way, I am going to replay this on my podcast, Hey Sugar Podcast. For those of you that may not know, I do have a podcast. I'm very excited. It just launched earlier on this month. Today, I released my 10th episode. I'm very excited about it. So I'm going to be replaying this in that podcast. So I want you to keep an eye out for it. Hey Sugar Podcast with Coach Roseanne. It's on all podcast platforms, on Apple, on Spotify, on YouTube. So you can catch it there. So let's do a quick recap. So number one, we talked about how do you want to feel when you go into the holidays, during and after. We hammered that proper. Number two, ask yourself this question: what's important to me as I'm moving into the holiday season? Number three, how will you set yourself up for success? Right? I've already shown you how to do that. And then the holidays it's not the entire season, but a sprinkling of a couple of days. And then finally, I want you to be intentional. And I want you to always start with the end in mind. That book by Stephen Covey is a great book, 7 Habits of Highly Effective People. I use that. I've told my kids to use it. My daughter is going to college. I was like, read this book. It's really going to help you. Because one of the things that, and I use that even in my own, in like different areas of my life, always starting with the end in mind and then working backwards, which is exactly what I have been taking you through. And so that brings us to the end of this session. However, I do want to invite you to our Fitmas Challenge. Now, the Fitmas Challenge is a 3-week challenge, which I'm going to be taking you through 3 weeks of working on this mindful eating, working on not emotionally eating. We're going to be working on a couple of things. The first thing we're going to be working on is how to set you up for success. We've already gone through that, but we're going to go much more in depth because I'm going to make it individual for you. Second thing, we're going to work on moving your body. And I want every one of you here to consider start moving your body. While nutrition is your biggest dial mover in terms of your body composition, nutrition is what you want to focus on most. The one thing that I do know is that the body God gave us, we are hijacking our body, not only with our nutrition, but also with our Western lifestyle. Because we sit down a lot, we take our cars, we're not moving it as much as we should. And all I want us to do is simply move the body. Whether that's walking, whether that's running. And one of the things that we do, usually we go to my in-laws, my grandmother's house, my husband's mother, she's my grandma. They have a tradition where on the 1st of every year we go to shags. And one of the things that we do, and I'd love for you to do this because it's a great tip that I'd encourage you to incorporate, is after we eat our meals, We usually go down. So, a tea farm, the tea farm is in Moranga, and it is absolutely gorgeous. So what we do is we go down the tea farm, and then we walk all the way back. And that's the first time I realized a tea, because when I used to see tea in books, I used to think that their stems, their leaves, the stems were like tiny and flimsy. It's like a short but a very strong tea thing. I mean, you would hold that thing as pull yourself up. It's fun. So we do that. We would actually walk all the way down. We see the river. There's even a time we're like, we can be doing tours over here. All those ideas you get when you're walking. So that's something that we do a lot of. It's also something that I do when we go on vacation now with my family. After meals, we will either go because we love Mombasa, we love the coast. We will either go for walks. We will do volleyball in the beach. We will run in the beach. We will do something just to get the body moving, to get your digestive system moving. And if you think about it, that's what our ancestors used to do. They used to eat and walk long distances, but we're no longer doing that. So I strongly encourage you to please consider moving your body, and walking is the easiest. It's the simplest form of movement. So add moving your body. You will notice you feel better. Actually, let me tell you a quick joke. So every time we do that at my shosho's house, my grandma's, my in-laws' house, whenever we walk, there's this guy, we call him Bishop. He is the funniest guy. He always says, hey, now I have felt all the food has gone out of the system. Let's go back and eat some more. So we are always cracking up, because honestly, you will feel better just by doing, even if it's a 10-minute walk. I promise you, you're going to feel so much better because you're helping your body move with its own digestion. Then the one tip I want to encourage you on is not to go any vacations that you're going to be going on to. Don't go on an empty stomach. Now, I have a cousin of mine, and she has a habit of doing this. I've been teaching her, she's like, Roseanne, help me lose my belly. Okay, then this is the habit that she has. Every time we have a function, she says, I don't eat anything so that when I go to the function, I eat a lot. Raise hands. How many of you have done that? How many of you have ever done that? So what I usually say is, yes, I see you. What I usually say is, you know what? Eat something small. I see you, Brenda. I see you, Kathy. Eat something small before you go. Eat something small, like an apple, some fruit, a banana, just something tiny to hold your stomach so that when you go there, you're not overeating. Because once you get to the function where you're going to be going, this is what's going to happen. You're going to find yourself overeating, overindulging. You're going to raise up those hormones, and guess what's going to be? You're going to be craving for? Usually, mostly carbohydrate, sugary, salty, fatty foods. That's generally what happens. So make sure you do not go anywhere on an empty stomach. Drink some water, have an apple, have some fruit, just something to hold you, have a salad, anything to help you. Then we're going to be talking about alcohol intake and how much alcohol should you take, how much should you not take. So we're going to be helping you through, think through how much alcohol you should be taking. But not just alcohol. I also want you ladies to be mindful and aware of beverages. Because there's a lot of alcohol, a lot of drinks that they're going to give you with sweetener. They're going to have, like, if it's, say, hot chocolate, you know how they add a lot of whipped cream, or they add Baileys in there. There's small ways that you just add unwanted calories, and it's good to be aware. If, let's say, you usually have 5, maybe can you have 3? Right? So we're not saying do not have them, but I want you to be aware. These are the things that we're going to be talking about. Then it's really important, especially if you're an emotional eater. Can your focus not be on food? And can you begin to focus on other things? And one way to do that is we also do games. Like this Saturday, I'm going to be hosting some guests over, and we're going to be doing games. So a lot of board games. So you're doing games as a way to keep the guests entertained. So everything doesn't revolve around food. Yes, food brings us. There's an emotional connection that we have to food. I have that, especially chapo. I know my love for chapati it takes me back to my childhood when we would go for Christmas to my grandfather's house. And every time we'd be there with my sisters, we'd be in our car and we'd always be saying, do you see the women? You know, because we were little. So like, do you see the women with their hands full of chapo flour? I mean, that was like our thing that used to excite us. So that's where my love of chapo came from, because of the way it connects me to my grandfather and my family, my cousins, when we would all meet together. So yes, food connects us and food is good. But if you find that you're one of those people that maybe struggles around food, that maybe when food is there, for you, that's what you're constantly going for, could you then consider doing something different? Again, remember we said coming up with a plan. So these are some of the things that I'll be teaching you much more in depth. How do you focus on different things other than food? And then finally, I want you to be present. I want you to stay there. I want you to enjoy your holidays. I want you to enjoy the foods that you're eating. I want you to enjoy the games you're going to play. I want you to enjoy spending time with your loved ones, with your cousins, your in-laws, with whoever you're going to be. Enjoy time with them. Because only when you're present and people feel your presence will you know that you're living and living fully. The thing I want you ladies to do, and I want you to know, is that you absolutely can enjoy the holidays, but it doesn't have to come at the expense of your body. It doesn't have to come at the expense of you not living that lifestyle that you want. It doesn't have to come to the expense of you feeling like you're sick in your body. You're feeling tired. You cannot even enjoy the parties because you have overeaten. It doesn't have to be that way. It's about you being aware. It's about you being present. It's about you being mindful. It's about you celebrating and living life to the fullest. Living life to the fullest without removing all the drama of dieting, removing all the drama of, oh, I must eliminate those things. No, it's about enjoying the holidays mindfully, the way we were intended to live as human beings, because we are social beings. We are meant to be. You know why we always have fun when we are together? Yeah, extroverts and introverts, even introverts, by the way, even them they enjoy, even though they're usually in a corner somewhere very quietly, they enjoy being with people. The difference is, it's all this drama that the diet industry has us do, where, oh, you can't eat this, you can't do the other. You know, that's all garbage. Honestly, I feel that strongly about that. It's garbage. You can live a healthy lifestyle. And for me, health looks like what? It looks like being present. It looks like you loving your body exactly the way it is. But even as you're loving your body, you're now doing what needs to be done so that you are healthy in that body. And health for me is mind and body. Mind meaning you're no longer dieting. You're not thinking about the dieting, the restriction that that's been sold out there, or taking fat pills, or taking fat gels. In fact, today one of my girls wrote to me. She's like, she saw somewhere someone was selling, I think, a fat loss gel. Like, that's all nonsense, right? I'm telling you, those things do not work. There's enough. We know they don't work. But a lot of us are always looking for the quick fixes, right? But if you just embrace, I am willing to learn, and I am willing to be patient, and I'm willing to ask myself the questions that you've asked, you will find that you're going to be able to go at this lifestyle intentionally. Hearing more about the Hey Sugar program sometime next year. Awesome, Sugar. I hope you've gotten to learn something out of that masterclass. And as always, remember, it's important to implement, work on the stuff that you're learning, the thing that jumps out at you, begin to work on it. And as always, remember, you've got one life, you've got one body, and I want you to treasure it.